Are you a big fan of Marvel movies? Have you watched Thor, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Doctor Strange? These are to name a few. Marvel's movies are also known as the Marvel blockbuster machine. It is indeed true. With a large fan base worldwide, Marvel has huge popularity. But is it true that Marvel is becoming a horror franchise? Keep watching this video to find out other news about Marvel and whether or not it is becoming a horror franchise. Firstly, why is Marvel so popular? What is the first thing you do when you hear about a new Marvel movie being released? Of course, you probably head online to pre-book the tickets for the movie, right? But why does Marvel have such a strong fan base? Marvel Studios has revolutionized the franchise film in just 10 years. Over $27 billion has been made from its 29 films, which is more than any other movie franchise in history. They also average 64 nominations and awards for each film and have an amazing 84% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, compared to a 68% average for the 15 top-grossing franchises. The 2019 release of Avengers Endgame, which received overwhelmingly positive reviews, resulted in such high demand that online sellers of movie tickets had to make significant system changes to keep up. The Marvel movies integrate the broad experience of its cinematic team by bringing together filmmakers and actors from a wide range of genres, taking advantage of their current popularity. For instance, Marvel has incorporated characters from a wide range of genres into its film world, starting with Chris Pratt from the sitcom Parks and Recreation, and moving on to stars like Robert Downey Jr. and Brie Larson, who have won or been nominated for Academy Awards. This change not only gives Marvel productions more variety, but also draws in a number of new viewers who might be interested in viewing the movies because they want to keep up with the careers of such well-known Hollywood actors. Up next, how is Marvel becoming a horror franchise? We all love superstition and creative imagination when it comes to watching Marvel's films, but the recent announcement of the Marvel movies has the fans in doubt. There are numerous Marvel horror projects in development. Werewolf by Night will premiere on Disney Plus very soon, and Blade will also join the MCU. In addition, renowned horror director Sam Raimi has joined the team to helm Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It does raise the issue of whether Marvel is going too far toward the horror genre. Most reviewers concurred that Raimi's influence on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was strongly felt. The MCU sequel made extensive use of many of Raimi's trademark filmmaking techniques, including extreme close-ups, first-person perspective, vast zooms, and jump scares. While excellent horror filmmaker Scott Derrickson directed the first Doctor Strange, the sequel seemed like Marvel finally satisfied its horror itch. While many critics were quick to point out Raimi's tactics, many also thought that they were occasionally distracting. For example, Marvel may have gone a little overboard with a horror comedy in the third act battle, where Strange takes control of a zombified version of himself and then later gives a pep talk to America Chavez. Of course, a flesh-torn zombie that is still able to speak is a Raimi cliche, but should it have happened here, and for what reason? So, in what movies do we see a horror storyline? Have you watched the recent trailer of The Werewolf by Night? Do you find something familiar about it? The Werewolf by Night teaser from Marvel is an illustration of how the studio stays true to itself while drawing on the conventions of 1930s horror. Marvel doesn't hesitate to experiment with its formula since they want to make sure audiences can still identify them as soon as characters begin to interact. It's intriguing how Marvel seems to be making a big effort to convince viewers that Werewolf by Night would be completely different from anything they have ever produced. Marvel attempted to go full old-school Hammer horror with the hire of film composer Michael Giacchino, the usage of black and white, and the trailer's vintage start. It remains to be seen if the effort will ultimately succeed. The Marvel horror series has so far received positive reviews from critics who have watched it. The Halloween special is being hailed for its inventiveness, adherence to the genre, and use of production effects. Longtime MCU fans shouldn't be surprised that Marvel is adding horror themes to its already expansive series. Marvel has experimented with many of its movies by fusing them into traditional genres since 2014's Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy. For example, while Guardians was a space comedy, Winter Soldier was a political thriller. Next, how has Marvel attempted to attract an audience through the horror genre? Marvel pretty much has a lot of genres in its franchise. However, one might still remain. Till now, we are sure you must know what we're talking about, but the mystery still remains. means. But how can Marvel attract an audience with the horror genre? Marvel can remain innovative with each new release by experimenting and updating the original material for modern viewers. Only a limited number of genres remain for the series to try to play with, those that are suitable for all audiences, that is, especially now that Marvel is going headfirst into the horror genre. Additionally, it helps when some characters like Blade and Man-Thing already have horror elements woven into their personas and narratives. However, whether Marvel should continue exploring the horror genre will depend on whether the projects are successful or not. Nearly $1 billion was made at the box office for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but many thought it was a step back from the original. Many viewers found Raimi's techniques in that movie to be too excessive, so perhaps a balance is required. So when is Werewolf by Night coming out? Fans have waited quite a long time for this special movie by Marvel. This movie will reveal the spooky side of the franchise. However, how can it still attract the audience with its spooky genre? There's a lot in store to find out. With a Halloween special for Disney+, Marvel is adding a bit of horror to their MCU offering. Werewolf by Night will follow the adventures of the comic book character, who frequently appears in more horrifying tales. Fans' appetites were recently whetted by a brand new trailer for the special, which hinted at one of the MCU's most artistically unique projects yet. There isn't much longer for us to wait until we can see this special, because it is scheduled to launch on the streamer very shortly in the lead up to Halloween. Disney isn't exactly known for its terrifying offerings, but director Michael Giacchino said in a Den of Geek interview that he was more inspired by sadistic modern horror stories when making Werewolf by Night than by more recent monster flicks like The Wolfman and King Kong. I feel like the world has gone into this thing where all the scary stuff has gotten too sadistic, he explained, and we've lost the heart of it as well. It was important to me that this has a real heart to it, that it's not just blood and guts, that it actually has a real moral center. Lastly, what other Marvel movies have felt like horror movies? Marvel is known for its portrayals of superheroes in comic books and movies. However, Marvel movies have occasionally been adapted into horror films. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been attempting for a while to strike a balance between exciting action and family-friendly tales. However, the MCU's exploration of darker themes has occasionally gone beyond superhero conflicts to the point where numerous films have clashed with the horror subgenre. Horror is a great approach to establishing a villain or taking advantage of the emotional or psychological conflict of a movie's heroes. The finest ways to convey it are via suspenseful music, gory supernatural violence, or simply plain horrific pictures. So in what movies have Marvel portrayed a pinch of horror gestures? Several Marvel films have explored scarier themes and concepts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, and other Marvel Comics adaptations. While some movies make it plain whether other movies or ideas served as inspiration, others leave it up to the viewer's interpretation. The Smiley Men were the most horrifying part of The New Mutants. The New Mutants was an independent 2020 X-Men film based on the same-named Marvel Comics team. It was categorized as a superhero horror story and had a PG-13 rating. It's centered on a collection of mutants with traumatic past who were kept in a medical setting. A mutant with the ability to create illusions and internal conflict is a formula for disaster. And sure enough, Danny's psychic abilities made Illyana's concerns into the Smiley Men. The Smiley Men were supernatural beings that showed similarities to the Slender Man and a number of other horror icons combined. That was all from today. All the mind-blowing and exciting shows and movies are explained. Hope you liked this video. If you did, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button too, so that you never miss out on all the new updates we provide to our viewers. Thanks for watching.